The Arcturus station floated in the void between stars, a gleaming monument to the Galactic Concordat's military might. Within its sterile corridors, recruits from 17 different species trained for the honor of serving in the elite Vanguard Corps. Among them walked two anomalies: Maya, a human from Earth, designated Deathworld Class 12, and William, her only friend in this hostile place. William wasn't human. His species, the Vellani, were fragile crystalline beings whose bodies refracted light in mesmerizing patterns. They possessed brilliant tactical minds, but physical combat was antithetical to their evolution. Most Vellani served in intelligence or strategy divisions. William had insisted on combat training, much to the bewilderment of his instructors. Maya understood why. She'd seen the determination in his multifaceted eyes during their late-night conversations in the observation deck, when the station's artificial day cycle dimmed and they could speak freely. "They think I'm weak," William had said once, his voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "They don't understand that strength comes in many forms." Maya had nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the distant stars. "On Earth, we have a saying, 'The reed bends in the wind while the oak breaks.' You're not weak, William, you're adaptable." That conversation felt like a lifetime ago as Maya stood in the medical bay, staring at William's shattered form on the biobed. His crystalline structure, normally a beautiful azure, was fractured in 17 places. Cracks spiderwebbed across his torso where Commander Zalther's fist had connected during training. The Krallick's commander was a brute, even by his species standards. Standing 3 meters tall with exoskeletal armor and 4 powerful arms, Zalther had made it clear from day one that he despised having a human and a Vellani in his unit. Deathworlders were unpredictable, he declared, and the Vellani were too soft for real combat. The medical officer, a Serpentine SS Rathi named Dr. Venn, worked carefully to stabilize William's matrix. "The damage is extensive," she hissed softly. "He'll survive, but regeneration will take weeks, perhaps months." "What happened?" Maya's voice was eerily calm. Dr. Venn's tongue flicked nervously. "Commander Zalther claimed it was an accident during close-quarters combat drills. He says William didn't block properly." Maya's jaw tightened. She'd watched the training through the observation window. It had been no accident. Zalther had deliberately struck with full force when William was already down, calling it a lesson in battlefield awareness. "Thank you, Doctor," Maya said, her tone flat. As she left the medical bay, the station's AI announced evening protocols. The corridors emptied as recruits returned to their quarters. Maya didn't go to hers. Instead, she made her way to the combat training facility where Zalther typically spent his off hours, convinced of his own invincibility. The facility was empty except for the commander, who was running through strength exercises designed to stress-test Krallick's physiology. Each of his 4 arms lifted gravitational weights that would crush most species. "Deathworlder," Zalther's voice rumbled when he noticed her. "Come to complain about your fragile friend." Maya stepped onto the training mat, her movements deceptively casual. At 1.7 meters and 68 kilograms, she looked insignificant compared to Zalther's massive frame. "I've come to discuss training protocols, Commander." Zalther laughed, a sound like grinding stones. "There's nothing to discuss. The weak have no place in the Vanguard. Your Vellani friend learned that today." "I see." Maya rolled her shoulders, a gesture Zalther didn't recognize as a human preparing for violence. "Then perhaps you'd like to demonstrate proper technique, so I can avoid similar accidents." The commander's eyes gleamed with malicious pleasure. Humans were known for their durability and aggression, but they were still considerably smaller than Krallick's. He'd wanted an excuse to put this Deathworlder in her place. "Very well, first lesson, always maintain defensive posture." He moved with surprising speed for his size, one massive arm swinging toward Maya's head. She wasn't there. Maya's combat training on Earth had been comprehensive. Systema, Krav Maga, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Her instructors had prepared her for the galaxy's harsh realities. But more than that, Earth's gravity was 1.4 times standard galactic norm. Every movement she made here was faster, more powerful than her body suggested. She slipped inside Zalther's guard before his strike completed, her elbow driving into the soft joint where his upper right arm connected to his thorax. Krallich's exoskeletons were formidable, but joints were always vulnerable. She felt the chitin crack. Zalther roared, swinging wildly with his other 3 arms. Maya used his momentum against him, a principle William had actually taught her during their tactical discussions. She dropped low, swept his legs, all 4 of them, and the commander crashed to the mat with earth-shaking force. Before he could recover, she was on him. Her knee pressed into his throat while her hands found the damaged arm joint. "Here's what you don't understand about Deathworlders, Commander," Maya said conversationally, as if discussing the weather. "We evolved on a planet that actively tried to kill us. Every predator, every parasite, every environmental condition was an enemy. We didn't develop armor or venom or size. We developed persistence, adaptability, and when necessary, extreme violence." Zalther struggled, but Maya had positioned herself perfectly. His other arms couldn't get the angle to strike her, and every movement made the pressure on his throat worse. "William is my friend, the only person on this station who sees beyond what I am to who I am. You hurt him deliberately. You called it training." Her voice remained eerily calm, but her grip tightened on his damaged arm. "So I'm going to teach you a lesson about Deathworld training methods." "You can't." "Regulations," Zalther gasped. "Regulations say training injuries aren't subject to disciplinary action. You established that precedent yourself today, Commander." She pulled. The Krallich's exoskeleton was strong, but the joint she'd already damaged couldn't withstand the leverage she applied. There was a sickening crack, then a wet tearing sound. Zalther's screams echoed through the empty training facility. Maya stood, holding the severed arm, cleanly removed at the shoulder joint. Hemolymph dripped onto the mat. The commander writhed, his 3 remaining arms clutching at the wound. "You're lucky," Maya said, examining the arm dispassionately. "Krallichs regenerate lost limbs in about 6 months. William will take at least that long to heal from what you did. I'd call that fair." She activated her comm. "Medical emergency in Training Bay 7. Commander Zalther has sustained a severe training injury." Dr. Ven's voice crackled back immediately. "What kind of injury?" "Traumatic arm amputation during close-quarters combat drills. He didn't block properly." There was a pause, then, "Medical team en route." Maya looked down at Zalther, who stared at her with a mixture of pain, shock, and for the first time, fear. "When you regenerate, Commander, I hope you'll remember this lesson. On Deathworlds, we protect our pack, we protect our friends, and we're very, very creative when it comes to violence." She dropped the severed arm beside him and walked toward the exit. Behind her, she heard the medical team arriving. Ahead, through the facility's windows, she could see the distant stars, each one potentially harboring worlds as harsh as Earth, each producing survivors as adaptable and dangerous as humanity. The investigation lasted 3 days. Multiple species' legal protocols had to be consulted. The station's AI provided complete footage of both incidents: Zalther's training accident with William and Maya's session with the commander. The tribunal's decision was unanimous. Both incidents fell within the parameters of combat training. No charges would be filed. However, Commander Zalther was removed from training duties pending full recovery. His replacement, a thoughtful Quellan named Instructor Maris, implemented new protocols requiring supervision during all cross-species training. Maya visited William daily as he recovered. On the 5th day, he'd regenerated enough to speak clearly. "I heard what you did," he said, his voice stronger than before. That was inadvisable. Probably, Maya agreed, but necessary. You could have been expelled, court-martialed. Maybe, but I wasn't going to let what he did stand. You're my friend, William. That means something to humans. William's crystalline face shifted in what she'd learned to recognize as a smile. Deathworlders, he said with something like fondness. You're all absolutely terrifying. Only when we need to be, Maya replied. The rest of the time we're quite pleasant. I believe you broke that conventional wisdom rather thoroughly. The entire station is afraid of you now. Good, maybe they'll think twice before hurting people I care about. William was quiet for a moment, light refracting through his healing fractures in rainbow patterns. Thank you, Maya, for being terrifying on my behalf. She grinned, what are friends for? 3 months later, both William and Zalther had healed sufficiently to return to modified duties. The commander never met Maya's eyes again and requested transfer to a different division. William, meanwhile, graduated at the top of his tactical class, his physical limitations overcome by brilliant strategic thinking that instructor Maris actively encouraged. On graduation day, as Maya received her Vanguard insignia, William stood beside her, his crystalline form whole once more. Do you regret it? He asked quietly. The violence, the consequences. Maya considered the question seriously. No, some lessons can only be taught one way. Zalther thought strength was about size and brutality. I showed him that strength is about protecting what matters. Very Deathworlder of you. Very human, she corrected. We're social creatures, William, tribal. Our greatest strength was never our ability to kill, it was our ability to form bonds worth killing for. As they walked together toward their new assignments, the station's other graduates gave them a wide berth. Maya didn't mind. She'd made her point, hurt her friends, and the Deathworld girl would remind you exactly why Earth earned its classification. Some lessons, after all, needed to be taught in the language of violence. And Maya was fluent.